Hey everyone, welcome to this Launchpad Insight session. My name is Scott Lewis. I'll tell you a bit more about me in a minute. Yeah, this is the third of the sessions that myself and Whiskers are running as part of Music Local and Launchpad supported project. What I'm going to do, I'll share my screen first off, and then we'll get into what we're talking about today. And also I'll let you know a little bit about what we've got coming up as well. There are a couple more sessions as well. So let me share my screen. On the volume, because it always mutes me as soon as it's kicks into it. So excuse me. This should be loaded now. Can you, Claire, Amy, can you see that all right on there?
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. So yeah, this session is on promotion and building your audience. So Whiskers has already done a couple of different sessions, but this one's a bit more hands-on in terms of what you're going to do to actively promote yourself as an artist. It's one of the most important parts of it, and it seems to be ever growing as well as the industry changes. There are many more ways to do that, to try and get yourself out there, communicate with a fan base, find those fans, but also customers and consumers, that side of it, and from having them as an audience, but also then turning that into money and pushing your career on further as well. So we're going to look at how different ways to promote yourself, and yeah, building your audience, how you're going to do that in a couple of different ways. This is the third of 5 sessions, I think I'm right in saying. So yeah, there's been a couple already. If you've missed those, don't worry. They are available on YouTube, so you can go back and have a look at those 2 sessions. Whiskers will be sharing more information on those and how to access those, and Launchpad team will be. In 2 weeks' time, we've got another one on Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. kickoff, and that's on finding funding. So at the moment, there's an awful lot of money out there. It's never been more achievable to get funding, or at least to find a pot of money that is appropriate to you and try to put a bid in for it, try to put an application there for it. So there's a lot of money out there, but that obviously there's a lot of competition as well. There's a lot of artists out there. So it's really important to know how to approach that and how to go about applying for funding. So that is what the one in a fortnight will be on. And then in 4 weeks from now's time, on the 9th of August, there will be another one on getting out there and playing live. So yeah, how to get shows from early on and start getting your sort of your regional gigs and starting just from your first steps up to touring, going around and working out how to work with promoters, looking at booking agents, and really engaging that whole live side from the start to yeah, playing at festivals and going on and doing the big things that you will want to if you are performing live. So yeah, those are available to sign up to and join, and will be delivered by myself and Whiskers, one or the other or both of us. So yeah, put those dates in the diary and get signed up for those sessions. All sessions have been recorded. I've mentioned that, so the previous 2 have been. This one also is, and then we'll do also a Q&A. Any questions at the end, if there are any, we don't have to do them recorded. We can do that after the session, just so that you can be a bit more free on asking any questions. Yeah, if there are any questions that come off the back of the sessions, then yeah, get in touch with the Launchpad team, and I'm sure they'll be able to assist with that. Before we kick into actually getting going with it, and talking about the actual session itself, I'll give you a little bit of insight on me. So my name is Scott Lewis. I run a record label called Clue Records. That's the logo in that top left-hand corner there. So yeah, Clue's been running for, it will be 10 years old this coming November. So we've been around a while. Working with mainly indie and alternative based artists, very DIY starting off, and still hold that DIY ethic. We've worked with some brilliant artists, including Bottom Grandma's House, who've just played at Glastonbury, The Wedding Present, who've been around for 20, 30 years maybe, but are doing incredible things, doing some brilliant new projects for them, and some other amazing artists in Yorkshire and Leeds, but also further north than that, and some in London as well. So yeah, that's Clue. I work for an artist development organisation called Come Play With Me, so I do workshops there. I lecture at Leeds Conservatoire, manage an artist, and I also do this. I do mentoring and workshops for music leads, music local, and Launchpad. So yeah, varying parts of my experience and things that I've done, but everything's within the music industry. So I'll share some stuff with you. Hopefully you find it useful and relevant. Pick out the bits that apply to you and put them towards what you're doing with your artistic career. So let's crack on into this. So we're going to look at mainly 3 types of audience, is what it's broken down into. There will be other parts to the presentation. We're going to be looking at 3 audience types. So they are the real or offline people, so people in the street, people at shows, that tangible person that's there, so an actual human being that you sort of see in the flesh, or you can contact and connect with in that way. Online audience, which is obviously huge, vast, is potentially the whole of the world. So how do you connect with the right people and cut through with your own personality, the right aesthetic for you, and the right authenticity for you as well. And then also press and influencers. So that is looking at that is what we're trying to do there is connect with press and connect with people who are maybe DJs or people who have some sort of, they are regarded highly within your within the genre or style that you're working in, and they have their own set of people who go to them to look for new music and look to find artists. So you're almost using them as a gateway to get to their audience. So that is another way of building the audience. So we're going to look at all 3 of these. First thing to do that's really important is identifying that audience. So how do you do that? How do you identify who your audience is? So yeah, who are they? You're going to have to work that out, and we're going to go through some steps in order to do that. Look at who do you appeal to. It's not always the easiest way to do that, and sometimes you're not completely honest with yourself in saying that, oh, I think I'm a Radio 1 artist, or I'll be on 6 Music, like I've got that sort of coolness about it, where actually it might be a little bit more Radio 2, or it might be the other, and that may not be as cool as some of the other ones, but if that's where your audience is, then follow it and go to it. So it's identifying the right place where you should exist. Also, who enjoys it, who are the right people that are actually into music and going to get it. It's not your family and friends, although they are there early on and they will be supportive of it and should be from early on until late in your career. That is nice. You can't ask them to come to every single gig that you do, especially when you go on a UK tour or anything like that. You've got to be working on those genuine connections with audience members further than that. So they can be the sort of seed of something, but yeah, we've got to be looking further than that and trying to identify a real, genuine, authentic audience. So as something to take away and do as part of this, in order to think about what you how you're going to identify the audience, this is a task. So what info can you use to create a profile of your audience? So a lot of the time you wouldn't just think of, oh, that's that fully formed person, I know exactly who that is that my audience is. It breaks down into several different character elements, several different things. The demographic of your audience can be quite different as well, based on a lot of different things. So basics of that audience are age. So what sort of age do you appeal to? Yeah, is it a student age? Is it an older age? Is it sort of the 30s to 40s? Is it 50s to 60s? Working out in those brackets whereabouts you fit. It can go across more than one. It doesn't have to just be, oh, it's 18 to 25, so it can't be anything else. People who love music doesn't have an age limit on it in that way. So try to work out which bucket you fit into within that, and then you can have 2 different types of audience, 3 different types of audience, but work out your primary audience on that. Gender also, work out who it is that's listening to you. Who do you think is appropriate to you? So that can be a really good one to look at as well. And then location. So where are they? And that can work in a couple of different ways. So that can be their physical location. If you are a Yorkshire-based artist, if you're in Leeds, is it on your doorstep? Are you able to get a good following online, in person there and coming out to your shows? Have you got a hometown where you started off a good following and you came away to university, or you got a job somewhere else and you're trying to build up new in the city? Can that be a location as well? So yeah, physical locations, but also online. Where do your audience exist? Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, any of those places? Where, then this can sort of feed into the age as well. Where do your audience exist? So there's a couple of ways of looking at that and thinking about that as well. So try to map out and work out where you think your audience basics are. So we're going to delve a bit further into audience identification. So alongside the basics, there's a lot more detailed information that you can start putting together to create like a sort of vision, or almost an avatar of who your audience is. So what are their interests? Yeah, what are they into? This, as it says there, think outside of music. So it doesn't have to just be all like they like guitars, they like going to shows, they like buying records. It could be anything else around that. So don't just think directly around music. What is their character personality? You as an artist, you are a musician, you're a creative, you are doing these things, but you will have other hobbies, other things that you get into. So can you bring that into, does that tie into who your audience is? Think about other music and artists that they like. So try to sort of pigeonhole yourself amongst these other artists that you are similar to and that your fan base will like. That's a common connection that you can have there, and start putting the dots together from there. Look at them in terms of what do they wear. So like traditionally, if you're thinking about a metal artist, there would be a lot of black clothing. There might be a bit of leather in there. I don't know. Is it a bit hyper pop? Is it a bit of neon going on? Or there's some, I don't know, think about what they wear and how they dress, what they look like. Tattoos or piercings, do they have these? How extreme does that go? How far does it tie into what your music is? Do they go out? If so, what to or where do they go to? So is it gigs? Is it club nights? Is it house parties? Is it the pub? Is it the cinema? What is it they do? What are they reading? So what blogs are they reading? What magazines do they read? Which books? Create this real picture of who it is that your audience is. What films are they into? And even are they into sport? So have an idea of what they are, and then you can then form a more genuine connection with them. You can, if you've got similar interests, so you're doing those similar things and it ties into your music, you can start sharing that type of thing through your socials or through the way that you communicate, and immediately it will bring a connection between you and that audience. How do you do this to kick off with? You can look at your current audience. So you can look, if you're playing a show and people have bought tickets to come and see you, literally looking at them. Who are they? Who are these people that come to see me? What sort of subset? What do they belong to? Is there some sort of crowd there, or a little type of gathering that could be created through that? Look at the audience of artists you share similarities with. So think about your any artist that you, as I said earlier, are pigeonholed with, that will be compared with, or that you would like to be compared with, you would like to be supporting on a show, playing a festival with, anything like that. What do their fans like? Because they're the fans that you really could bring over and bring into your world, as well as them staying with that artist as well. And then the places that you go to, the gigs that you go to that are relevant to your music, the bars that you attend, that you go to, the nights that you go out to, the shops that you go into and buy stuff from. Build up that picture, like who goes to those? Where does it work in that way? So we're going to look at a couple of different things as well online that you can find a lot of this info to start building a picture of it as well. So one of the first ones is Spotify for artists. So if you've released music, you should have signed up for Spotify for artists. You'll be able to see a lot of the back end insight on that. Immediately, this will give you gender splits of who is listening to you, age splits. You can start understanding a bit more of who it is that is actually coming to you and listening to you. And then also identifying those artists. If you've got a few in mind anyway, this will bring you out a load more. So that will tell you another 10 that Spotify algorithmically has identified you to be similar to. So you can delve into these and see how these artists come across, how they communicate, and how they work with their audience. Start taking inspiration from that. And then location-wise, This is really valuable for many reasons. So yeah, you can see where your audience exists. So this is in terms of country, but also you can go down to city as well. So there have been artists before. Koji Radical, a good few years ago now, went into his Spotify for Artists, looked into the back end of this, and saw which were his most popular cities. Were the numbers enough to be selling tickets for a show? Decided that they were, and went out and booked shows in these places. I think there was somewhere in Turkey or somewhere like quite randomly where you wouldn't normally expect to go and play a show. Flew over, got a show booked, and played a sold out show, and was blown away by the reception and reaction, and just sort of did it on instinct as well as this data, and it managed to go really well. But yeah, obviously it's working out the expense of that and how genuine and big is the interest there. Looking at these numbers, you're not going to fly out to Sweden to potentially get, it's 45 listeners. Every one of them buys a ticket. Even then, is it going to be enough to fill a room? So yeah, it's about being sensible and working out where these listeners are. So another task and something to think about on this is how can you sell yourself and communicate what you're doing to your audience? So have a think about how you're going to sell yourself. Sounds a bit harsh, it sounds a bit direct, but in essence, that's what you are doing. You are trying to put yourself in front of an audience for them to engage with it, for them to check out what you're doing, for them to listen to what you're doing. And communication is a key part to that. How you communicate what you're doing to your audience. And that, in terms of what you're doing, it can be releasing music, and can be live shows, it can be any of those sorts of things. But also, it's just about you having that genuine connection with an audience. If they can get on with your personality and find a way to connect in that way, then they will come around to your music and find that connection with it that way. So there's two different audience segments, which are really key to start having a look at and thinking about. So first is converts. So this is people who already enjoy and engage with your music. I think this is a really important audience segment, because usually an artist will tend to want more and more. They want more numbers, new fans, new audience, more people come to them all the time. It's so important not to neglect those ones that you've already got and have come to you, because if you can look after those well and take care of them properly throughout your career as an artist, they will stay with you. There will be a route to finding new fans as well, because they'll be the ones shouting about you, fighting your corner and telling the world about you. So yeah, make sure you are finding ways to look after the people that have been there, are already with you, whatever point they came in with you. And then another segment is the targets. So yeah, people whose audience you want to reach. So yeah, this is in terms of artists, press, radio, whose audience that is already there and created, who do you want to reach and get there? So in doing this, you need to, when these people are coming to you and interacting with you, you need to be as right as you can. Your authenticity and your delivery as an artist and the way that you communicate may change over time. It's like your sound. Like, it takes a while to actually find it and find your own individuality and confidence in it. That's a massive thing as well. But these are things to consider in that. And then when people do come to you, they will be getting the real picture of you. So one place to start is your bio. Having a good, appropriate, and interesting bio, something that tells something about you. Look at these other audiences, these other artists that you admire and think are great. Go to their bios. What are they saying? How are they phrasing it? Is it a real sort of Wikipedia entry of like, this is what they've done? Or is it some snappy little caption of what they sound like, or like a cool little thing to engage? Is it quotes from press? What is it? But yeah, think about your bio. If you put your bio in front of somebody and they read it, would they be impressed by it? Would it make them want to listen to your music? If it's just 4 people from Leeds playing guitars and singing songs about the sky, that doesn't sound very interesting to me. So it's about, I mean, I want to know why they're singing about the sky for a start, but you know what I mean. So yeah, work out what it is that that you are giving that's different to other people as well, how you can authentically have your voice come across through that. Consider your style. So that can be the way that you dress, the way that you present, the colors that you use, anything like that. So how are you presenting? Are you just a very natural person? Does that come across well? Is it much more curated and thought about and very, very specifically designed to have a real visual imprint on what you're doing? Decide on your voice. How are you going to communicate? And having almost a sort of a guide of what it is that you're going to, how you're approaching your socials, how you're speaking to people, how you're addressing your fans. If that becomes a thing, Charlie XCX has her Angels, Lady Gaga has her Monsters, I think. Are you going to go that way out, and why not? You can start doing that at any point. If it's right and it's authentic for you. So how are you going to address fans? They're going to be mates, they're going to be pals. How are you going to bring them in to be part of your world? How are you going to engage fans at shows? Yeah, how are you going to get them to take something away from the show? So is your merch stand going to be really clear and nice and work really well? We look after an artist called Pit Pony. We released their album recently. They had a track called Supermarket on their album. So for the album launch, we had a sign above it saying Pit Pony Supermarket. We had sort of bright yellow pricing stickers on the merch, as if it was like a price sticker in a shop, on a corner shop. So we were really authentic about that whole thing and just sort of really doubled down into that. If you don't have merch yet, it doesn't mean you can't have a mailing list sheet printed out and ready to go there. So can that be there with your name on there, with a Spotify scanner code on there or a QR code to send these people to wherever you want to go? Can you put posters up around the venue saying scan this and follow me on Spotify or on Twitter or on socials? Think about how you can do that at each show. Can you give them freebies? Can you give them badges? That can be an incentive to sign up for a mailing list. There's something that you can do that's cheap that really gets people on board and feels like they're coming away with a piece of you from that show. How are you going to engage with press? So yeah, we're going to come on to that a little bit further in terms of how you can start looking at that. But yeah, thinking about who are the appropriate targets for you to be reaching out to when releasing music, trying to get some traction in the industry. As I mentioned on the bio and several different bits, how will you stand out? And that's not about being completely 100% original, because I'm not sure it's possible anymore. There's obviously so much has been done, but how can you stand out while being authentic to what you are doing? So yeah, think about what it is that you present at the moment. Is it right? And this comes into live shows. Is your live show good enough? It's difficult to know whether it is or not, because you're so caught up in it, and it's the instinctual feeling of like, oh, that felt like a good show. Oh, I messed up that bit on that track. That was a terrible show. It's removing that directness and thinking about how was it actually for the audience. So look at practicing the whole live show. When you go into the rehearsal room, it's like, right, this is the set list. Even to the point of the set playing outwards. So instead of in a room, you're standing in facing each other, play towards the audience, play in the way that you would on a stage. How are you going to walk on? How are you going to come onto that? How are you going to actually start the show? What are you going to do between songs? You practice your songs and you rehearse those and you deliver those well at a live show. If you struggle to talk between tracks, come up with some sort of come up with these little bits that you're going to say between them, and it just gives you that little bank of bits you can say to be a little bit more comfortable and remove some of that anxiety around it. So yeah, work on those things, and as well drinking or like whatever substance it may be, but in a rehearsal room, tend not to drink. Usually you go in, you'd rehearse, you'd leave. On a show, because you get a rider, you'd have a couple of beers. So are you a little bit looser in not necessarily a good way when you're going on to play songs and playing the tracks? You've rehearsed, you've put all this time to rehearsing, then you've had a couple of beers and you're getting sloppy. So is it worth looking at that as well and thinking, are you making the most of each live show that you've got? Tone of voice is a really important one. So how are you going to write on socials? Yeah, this comes to what we were saying earlier in terms of deciding on your voice, having that consistency with it. What approach will you take to social media? Is it a complete blackout? Are you just sort of very minimal posts? Or are you going to be a lot more direct with it and yeah, regular with it? Yeah, work out what you think is right for you and will have the best connection with an audience as well. And then EPK, get a good EPK together. We'll come to speak a little bit more about that when we speak about the press stuff as well. A good place to look at when you're trying to work out your audience, who it is, is FFO. So that stands for fans of. So basically you're saying this artist is for fans of this artist. So yeah, work out who you are similar to. As I mentioned before, who you should be supporting, what festivals you should be playing with those types of artists, anything like that. And use these identifiers for people to relate to. So if you're handing out flyers with your stuff on there and people are like, all right, okay, and there's somebody else doing it and somebody else doing it and they're just getting overwhelmed with it and doesn't really cut through. If your music is like something along the lines of Kate Bush, put for fans of Kate Bush, put those direct things on there. So when I pick up a flyer and it says, and for fans of, all right, cool, I'll check that out. It's like, I'd want to know how audacious you are to say you'd sound a bit like Kate Bush. That'd immediately get me to listen to your music. So try and think about that, how you're going to engage with people who are already fans of that artist to bring them towards listening to your music. It's all you want to do. They may not like your music, but at least you've got their ears to it and then they can make their own decision about it. So with things like flyers, posters, the mailing list that you'll have on your merch desk if you're taking that out with you, anything that physically you're doing, but also generally online as well. How are they going to hear your music? So QR codes, when they first came in, very exciting, new technology, soon fell off and nobody was bothered about them. Obviously going through COVID and things like you can't go to a bar now without a restaurant having a QR code on it. They're just so much part of the psyche now, and people know them and understand them. So use that to your advantage. Make a QR code, dead easy to use. Spotify scanner, similarly, you can share it's like a little barcode that you can create through Spotify. If you go onto your profile and click to share, it will have like this little scanner underneath. That can be underneath the picture, so that can be your profile, a track, an album, a playlist, whatever you want to share on that, you can. So use these and make it really easy to do that. On Spotify scanner, some people don't understand what they are, so I put little instructions on of like, open Spotify, click search icon, click camera in the top right hand corner, scan this, and then it comes up straight away on their phone. That immediate novelty of somebody doing that for the first time is like, all right, that's cool, and then they'll hit follow and they've got you straight away. So think about how you're making it really easy for people to engage with your music. A really good way on social, online, but particularly in person, is to network. Get out to Launchpad. You're already at the right place already if you're aware of Launchpad and Music Local. Get to the conferences and the events that are being put on by this organisation. Go and meet people. Go and speak to them. Build up your network of people and allies and maybe collaborators, maybe people you can work with. There may be somebody who writes for press that you have a connection with. You never know who you're going to meet, and you never, even when you've met him, you never quite know it's going to work out into something further down the line. So yeah, the music industry is still a large part of it is who you know, but not in such a cynical way. I think a lot of it is build your networks and build those supportive people around you. It's a really, really valuable part of it. Collaboration, so working with other artists, with other creatives, trying to build something there in a collaborative way. I think that building a community is so valuable to an artist. So if you can try and do that with other artists, you don't have to succeed and they don't have to fail for you to succeed, and vice versa. You can both succeed, and often you will see with particular highlights in music where a few bands start coming out at the same time. It's a little scene that's been created and a little build. So the sort of hype and attention around that can really, really help. So that could be features on each other's tracks, gigs with each other, sharing love for each other on socials, just shouting about other artists that you like. You can cross post, so you can do it on Instagram now. You can do sort of joint posts together. You can get them and other artists to invite all of their friends to like your Facebook page and vice versa, doing sort of trade and favors and stuff like that. It can be a really good way to just get the name out to new people. If you've got a bunch of committed fans already and you're starting to get people on board and they're working with you and into it, can you build a street team or a fan club so you can get these? Can you get these people? Say that we've gone back to identifying other artists that you're similar to, and let's say that they're playing in Leeds one night. You're not playing the show, but you know that that artist is, and you're very similar to them. Can you get a bunch of flyers? Can you get the street team or a bunch of mates to go out these flyers and say, "Hey, you love this artist? Go on," and like go and throw out these flyers and really engage with that audience. That may seem there are sort of connotations of that of like it's a bit awkward. I don't want to do that. But if you're thinking about that audience, they're ones that are going out to these shows, paying money for tickets, paying money for merch, real fans of an artist. You've got nothing to lose in doing that. So I think it can be a really good way of doing it, and then pull them into being some sort of fan club for what you're doing. Also, what can you give to people for them to engage? What can you give to people for them to engage their audience? So yeah, these people that are doing it for you, could you give them access to demos? Can you ask for their opinion? Can you have chats with them? I don't know. There's a great Charlie XCX documentary on the iPlayer at the minute, which just, even as a huge artist, just showed how she directly connected with fans and did that. So it's really interesting, no matter what genre of music and style you're into, just to see how that was done. So I think that can be a really cool thing to foster some ideas. Biggest thing is make it easy on your audience and your potential audience to engage with you. Don't expect them to go an inch more than they have to. Make it easy for people. Like, people want an easy life. People generally can be quite lazy. That's fine. It's human nature. They just want things. If it's going to be easy, people have a lot to do and they're busy. So make it really easy for people to be able to get to where you want them to. You want them to listen to music, right? Instead of there being 10 different steps between here and here, get rid of 8 of them, and you've got, right, do this, do that, into the music. That's it. They can make the mind from there. So try and strip it back and be as simple as possible for people as well. Another task to think about here, look at inspirations through artists that you love on social media and why. So this is, yes, who are your favorite artists on social media and why? Not necessarily the artist that you listen to most or the artist that you hold in highest regard musically or artistically, but who do you really like on social media, and why is it? Why is their name coming out? And go in and look at it in a different way. Instead of looking at it as an audience member, look at it in a way of like, all right, this is how they're approaching it. They're being really honest, or they're being outspoken, or the vibrancy of the colors, the way that they post. Look at what that's doing. A couple for me that I think do an amazing job on social media. Self-esteem, I think, is incredible. Just for the pure honesty, that sort of peek behind the scenes at what the industry is really like. Yeah, that can be really useful. And then another one, Sleaford Mods, quite outspoken on Twitter, and I really like that about them. Yardak, I think, a real genuine connection. So yeah, a couple of those for me really work, and then I look back at those and think, all right, how are they doing it? So yeah, identify your own and go out and look at it with a slightly more investigative angle. Going to look at socials now and go through a couple of sort of best practices and other things that we can look at here. So understand each social platform that you want to exist on and how it works. And then exist on each, even if you are not actively using them all. So the basics are obviously Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Those are the 3 staples that we're looking at. TikTok is obviously emerging, and we'll talk a little bit about TikTok in a moment. But understand how each of those work. Take a little bit of time to look into them and work out how you're going to use it. If you're not intending on using it, and this is a particular thing with Twitter, then exist on it. At least have your profile on there. We'll get into that a little bit further on as well. So in the setup, your username should be uniform across all of it. So for Clue Records, we have @Clue Records, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, dead simple, dead easy. We've got cluerecords.com, so it's easy. People will find us with that one thing across all. So try to do that as much as you can. If your domain, the tags are taken, if the profile is taken, try to find something else that's relevant that works across all three. If you've already got your socials set up, you'll set them up and then you'll just post and create content and post. What is it that they actually see when they first visit your profile? So if you take a step back and go back to your profile and look, it's like, oh, hang on a minute, I've got a gig ticket in there that's 3 months out of date, and this comes into this. So your about section and your bio section, are they true and up to date? Is it engaging? Does it look exciting? Is it authentic? Does it bring something to somebody who reads it and make them want to listen to the music? Are the links relevant? Are you using pinned posts? So on Twitter and Facebook, you can pin a particular post, so it's the first thing that people see when they come to your profile. So are you is that something that's massively outdated and isn't relevant anymore? A lot of artists, a lot of people will put their like a gig ticket in a link, particularly in Instagram, but Twitter also maybe. And then once the gig's gone, maybe forget that it's there and just leave it. So when people are coming to that, they're coming to a dud link. It doesn't work anymore. And even if it was live and it's a gig for Leeds, and you've got this huge bunch of Brazilian fans coming over to check out your profile, they're not going to get a plane and come over to see you play in Leeds. So something like Linktree is fantastic. You can add all of your music on there. You can add links to your socials, links to your music, links to gig tickets. You don't then have to change that link that's in your profile. So that can be really, really useful. Content. So how are you going to create approach creating content? What do you have to say? What do you want to say? So this isn't necessarily, I've got a release out, I've got a gig coming up. Those are general staples that you will come around to be doing. But are you angry about something? Are you willing to be outspoken and really want to say something? What is it that you want to get off your chest? Do you believe in something? Do you have a particular group that you belong to or identify with that you really want to be an ally to? Can that be something that you take on and really bring in as part of your artistry? In terms of content, user-generated content. Are there ways that you can find to get other people to create the content for you? Is basically what this means. There's a great artist that's been Launchpad supported called Ntantu. I can't remember the name of the track, but it was a single that he put out, and it had like a little bit about like a sort of little dance breakdown bit, and he made a video about it, and TikTok, it went all over the place. Twitter, Instagram, the same, and it did really, really well. So everybody's doing these clips along to the song, made a little dance out of it, a little dance move. Everybody's doing it. All of a sudden, you've got all of this content coming straight to you, and you can start sharing that. So that can be really good and useful. And video clips. When I go onto a new artist's profile and I'm checking them out, if I'm scouting for any reason, maybe looking for Clue or just wanting to find out if I want to go and see him at a show, I've seen a new name come up. This goes back to the point about making it easy for people. Have some sort of video clip with an audio clip of your track on there. If I go on somebody's Instagram, I will flick through a little bit and I'm like, all right, this looks cool, I want to hear it. I may not go to SoundCloud, I may not go to Spotify straight away. What I would prefer to do is find a little 30-second clip or a minute clip on Instagram where the track is playing over. It might just be a still image, it could be a little video clip, and I can hear it immediately then. I'll be like, all right, okay, cool, that's good. And then I'll go and investigate from there. So if I found you on Instagram, if I can get everything I want out of that, amazing. And if I like it, then I'll go everywhere else and follow you. So try be, again, make it easy for people. On non-page content, so the pages that you've got set up, do you share your posts through your personal profile? So personal profiles you can have them on any of them, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Do you share the things that you are doing? Are you proud of it? And are you showing that off? It will help the reach. On Facebook particularly, is it worth setting up, or could somebody that's devoted to what you're doing, set up a fan page? So we had recently the stable, as an example, I mentioned Pit Pony earlier. Somebody set them up a Facebook fan group, And the band and I were a little bit freaked out, and we're like, what's going on? Why have somebody done that? It's weird. And it's just a really nice community for people who like the band to chat about stuff or do things. And it's the band have been able to communicate with people through that, and it's really, really fostered this lovely relationship there. Great examples of it are Idols with the AF gang. But yeah, there's loads of them out there. So yeah, could you do something like that? Could you try to get somebody to do it on your behalf and see how it goes? Yeah, is it the right place to go? Posting group pages. So again, in the Idols group, Pit Pony are not too far off musically, so we could post in there and say, hey, this is a thing, we think you'd be into this type of music. So are there other ones out there that you are actively part of? Can you share your music in there? Share the project that you're doing. And another thing on non-page content, you create a Facebook event for an event, a show, a gig that you're doing. Could you create it for a release? These things you create through your own profile or through the page that you've set up. You can invite people to it. People get notifications from that. So it's a really great way for people to get a notification that something has happened on release day. So yeah, instead of, as well as creating events for gigs or events, create them for your release and use it that way. A few more bits on socials. Planning is essential. I think one of the biggest things, one of the reasons I'm not the biggest fan of social media or being active on it is because I know I've got, right, hang on, I need to post something, I need to do something now, right, what is it? Well, and then you get inside of your head and you put that pressure and anxiety on yourself, and all of a sudden you've spent 2 hours doing a post that gets 1 like, and that's about it. So plan out your schedule, work out what it is that you want to say. As well as that, get ready for relevant events. So there are things like this T-shirt day, Women's History Month, Donut Day, Kiss a Ginger Day, my favorite day of the year, obviously. But what is your love, interest, passion, and when is its day? Is that appropriate to you? Is there anything in there that you can find out? Again, if you are aligned to something, a group, a community, anything like that, when are the real things that happen, and then how can you engage with that authentically as well, and not just trying to get something out of it. Twitter, as I mentioned earlier, is so important for interacting with people, or at least being present on. So if you don't understand it, a lot of artists don't. They just don't get it. They don't connect with it. They don't like it, or they've not really spent the time on there to understand what it is that it can do. You've got 2 options. Do some reading, engage in there a little bit, look at it. It's a really, really simple tool. It's very, very effective. It's not difficult. I think it can seem daunting. It isn't. So that's one. Do a little bit of research and work on it and start using it. If you don't want to do that, or you can't connect with it in that way, don't use it. That's also fine. It's your choice and your decision to do that. But do have your profile set up as a signpost. So set it up as you have your others. So you've got your image, you've got the header for it, you've got your bio in there, you've got the appropriate link, the link tree, whatever it is where you're sending people, and you've got a pinned profile, a pinned post maybe saying, I don't use Twitter, but here's where you can catch me, and then you can put other information on there. So that can be really useful. So at least you are there, and then if any press or anything else like that want to feature you and tag you in it, they can. Maybe you build up an audience without trying on there. And then, yeah, TikTok. So obviously, massively, yeah, there's a lot of noise around TikTok at the moment. The industry is looking at TikTok. Like there are meetings going on saying, oh, who's doing well on TikTok? What's going on TikTok? Let's go and have a look at them and see what they're doing. Yeah, well, yeah, say what you want about that. I think you need to be a lot more wider on what you're doing and your approach to social media, but TikTok is an interesting place to do something. First thing to work out, is it right for you? Is it the right place for you to exist? As I mentioned with other things, how do the artists that you admire approach it? Are they on it? What are they doing? How are they engaging on this? So that can be a real good thing on there. And authenticity, as with all these social medias that you decide on your tone of voice and what you're going to do, authenticity is key here. Making sure that it's appropriate, relevant, and fits in with your overall tone of voice across all these social media platforms. So there's a few others as well. It could be considered socials, maybe a bit more indirect. So MailChimp, I'm a huge advocate of setting up a mailing list and communicating with people via a mailing list. The algorithms on social media mean that if you post something on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, it may reach every single one of the people that follow or like your page. It may reach 10 times that. It may reach one of them. You could have 1,000 and it only reaches one of them. It's not always down to what you're putting out there. MailChimp, if you set up a mailing list and you use MailChimp to build a newsletter and send that to people, that email will land in that person who signed up. It will land in their inbox. So it's up to them whether they read it or not, but that's the starting point of they've been notified, they've received some sort of notification. So yeah, I'm a huge advocate for setting up mailing lists and doing that. I think it's a really, really strong thing to do. Snapchat, do you want to go that way and be able to be a little more direct with people? Is there something that you can do in there? If you use that anyway, how does that work with people? How do you connect with it? And could it be something you use as an artist? Do you blog? Are you a writer? Do you journal? Do you do things like that? Is that something that you can have, maybe set up a site or a website and have something on there and do a regular every couple of weeks, every month, do a regular blog and people come to it and find out about you a bit more. It's a similar thing with MailChimp. I think some of the best ones that I've seen done come from Yardact. They've got a brilliant mailing list. They really communicate in a really, really good way. Just not just, here's something we're doing, here's some ticket links, here's a record link buy. It's a lot more personal, and they're trying to create a sort of that community. So work out how you can do that as well. Can you do it in a way that it's slightly different from your social medias that you're looking at? WhatsApp as well. So you can create what is called a broadcast list on WhatsApp. So this is a message group where you've got to add people into it. People have got to agree to be added into it. You get their number, you add them into it. And then you, when you've got a certain piece of news or you want to communicate something particularly with the audience, you just put it into that WhatsApp group. It goes out into all of their, it goes out to all of them as a message. There's no, because it's a broadcast list, it's one way. So the message goes out from you. They can't reply to it. It doesn't turn into a huge chat and loads of notifications for everyone. It's just a one-way conversation. So that, as it's ups and downs, it's really nice that it's a direct way of communicating. It may mean that they can't come back to you and sort of chat back with you or create that group there, but it's a great way of getting in front of people at least. So a couple more bits on socials and staying active. So make it easy on yourself. So a simple document that you can keep track of everything on will be really useful. So I set up a spreadsheet, which we'll come on to in the next slide, and I'll show you a bit more on that. But what are the things that you know are going to be happening? So what do you have coming up? Create content folders. So create things that are ready for these events that are happening. And then you can even schedule things on Hootsuite or TweetDeck. So if you don't want to be having to go to your phone or your laptop every time being like, all right, I need to post this now, you can schedule it through these things so that you're not always on. You know, you can rely on it happening at that time that you've set it for to publish. So this, hopefully you can see it, is a little bit of an older Come Play With Me social scheduler. So across the top, you've got the days of the week, followed by well, you can see at the bottom, so this is actually from 2019. So this is January 2019, days of the week across that, and then the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. So it's Tuesday the 1st, Wednesday the 2nd, going all the way across the month. And then along here, you've got social. So which social media platform have you got? We've got Facebook there, we've got Twitter, Instagram stories, mailing list, gigs. If you've got gigs on there, you can have those on there. Even added a to-do list on here, so the particular things that you want to do at particular points. And then further down here, keeping a tab on the social media stats that you've got. So Facebook likes and follows, Twitter followers, Instagram followers, Spotify playlist followers, all of the rest of that. So that can be really interesting because then you've got a snapshot in a point in time. The main point of this is that on Tuesday the 1st, you can see that the Spotify playlist is going to be posted across the board. It's going to be a little reminder on that on Twitter on Thursday the 3rd. So this was a weekly Spotify playlist that was done. Here on Monday the 14th, there is an anniversary for a release. There was a talk by an artist video the following day. So it just allows you to put in these dates, right? This is what I'm doing on here. So at least that gives you an idea, right? This is what I'm saying, or this is what we're posting about. What you can also do is set up a Word document or a Google Word document, and actually draft some of these posts beforehand. So what I do is I draft it in Twitter so it fits to their text limit, and then I put it into this document so I know I can just come over, copy and paste it and use it when I need to. So yeah, staying on this and staying active. So what is coming up? Can you set rules for it? So if you've got a gig, are you going to post 1 month before, 2 weeks before it, 1 week before it, the day before, the day of it? How you can sort of set up a regularity on that, which will help you to plan for it. If you're releasing a single, is it the same as that? Is it the same as 1 month, 2 weeks, week, and then regularly after as well to make sure that people know about it and engaging now that the music is out there. Anniversaries, if you released a track a year ago, can you shout about that on socials? It could be a nice way to create some content around that. If it's your birthday, you're a solo artist, or you're in a band and it's one of the members' birthdays, that's a great thing to shout about because it brings that sort of human connection, that immediate thing. So a lot of people will get on replying in the comments, which can really build on the algorithms. Yeah, the blogging, as we mentioned a moment ago, is that something you can do? Again, how regular can you keep up with that and do that, and how are you going to push that? Or can you go off topic? So this is something that idols used to do a good while ago. So they used to do haiku. So this is, yeah, haiku. It's a traditional form of Japanese poetry. Haiku poems consist of 3 lines. The first and last lines of a haiku have 5 syllables, and the middle line has 7 syllables. The lines rarely rhyme. So that's what haiku is. Idols just did one every day, and so they have immediately got one piece of content at least going out every day. So it can be a really nice way to just know that you've got something going on, and that was just Twitter as well that did that on. So again, you can be different and adaptable to different social media sites. Staying active, the other side of it is, do you need to? So the artist bubble, gone through a lot of social media, different bits there, talking in person, doing all these things. This is without recording music, writing music, all the process of that, and then everything that comes after it. It is never ending what you can do as an artist. So there's a lot of things that come into that artist bubble, and the pressure of being on all the time comes from social media as well. So you need to look after yourself and also be kind to yourself and work out what it is that's appropriate so that you have the energy to keep doing these things. So do people think about you as much as you think of you? What I'm trying to say with that is, a lot of the time artists are like, I need to put something out, like I haven't put something out in ages. Are other people thinking that way? I doubt it. Maybe they'll be thinking, oh, that person hasn't put some music out a bit. I hope, like, that'd be good to hear something from them soon. They will just be getting on with their life, listen to music that is out, and when you come with something new, they will listen to it and they will engage with it as long as you're able to communicate and cut through to them. So don't worry too much about thinking, I need to be doing something because I haven't done anything in ages. Time things out well and plan it well. Another thing as well, and there are definite pros and cons to this, can you make your artist profile your personal profile? So if you're good at updating your personal profile, it says you're having 2 of them, can you just do that and bring people fully into your world? So that can help you with creating more content. The downside of that is, where's the separation there? So yeah, again, it's whatever's right for you. And another thing to consider is that if you are on all the time, how are you going to get your main message across? If you're just throwing out loads of different things and doing things what is it actually that you are trying to achieve and trying to get to? Do you have call to actions? Are you trying to get people to do a specific thing? Is it working? How are you actually doing that if you're just throwing a lot of stuff out there into the ether? So think about that as well. But you're almost there, getting towards the end of it now. So press and influencers, we're going to have a look at a little bit around this now. So who are they? Who are the people that are appropriate for you to be writing about you, to be playing your music on radio? Influencers isn't necessarily somebody who, like the new version of influencers, who yeah, get freebies and go on wonderful holidays and look great and all of that sort of thing. It's people that can have an influence on your career, and have an audience there that if they shouted about what you're doing, the people there would react to it authentically and really connect with that. So work out who these people are. So the writers, the blogs, the sites, the magazines, the radio shows, the DJs, all the rest of that. Where can you find them? So Twitter is a great resource for finding about writers, DJs, anything like that. Really, really useful resource to do that there. Do you read blogs and articles anyway? Are you into them? Do they fit appropriately with what you're doing? If so, start noting down who the people are that are writing them, particularly if it's music related, because then you can start building up a bit of a database of people who should be into your music. Yeah, once you've identified your FFO, the for fans of, who is writing about them. So go and look at articles for these artists, track it back, who's the person that's writing about it, and look from bigger blogs and the larger ones that you sort of like your dream ones and the goals in the end, to the smaller ones. Who are the smaller writers that are sort of fans of the people that you believe that you're closely aligned to? Once you've started putting these together and working out who they are, get a spreadsheet together. That's what I mean by database. I get a spreadsheet together. I've got a spreadsheet where I just keep adding to and dropping people on there. So I have writers on there. Start making connections with them as well, and trying to actually in some way speak to them or reach out and say, I really love that piece that you did on that artist. Just yeah, a bit of flattery will go a long way. And yeah, I mentioned this earlier, but networking and conferences are invaluable. It's not just, there are artists there are labels there are writers, DJs, people who work in the industry, anything. There's all sorts of stuff there. So if try to get yourself out to as many of these types of things as you can. A few practical tools then. So we're going to look at so a press pack versus an EPK. So two slightly different things. A press pack, for me, is more aligned to a specific release. So this is when you've identified the press people that you're going out to, and you're going out and say, I've got this new release coming out, I'd love for you to check it out. You build a press pack. So that press pack will include the audio track or tracks of the release, the artwork, some press shots, and a press release. And that press release tells the story of you as an artist, but also of this specific to the release that you are talking about. So that is more of a snapshot in time of that release, whereas an EPK is an ongoing updatable tool to show off what you are as an artist. So there's a really great program called Spark by Adobe. It's free to sign up. So it's like Adobe Illustrator, Adobe Photoshop. It's from the same suite as them, but Spark is a really free, easy to use tool. If you sign into that and use it and look at the page type design, then that is a great way to start building something that's really, really looks good, and you can input any information you want on there. So that's a nice place to start there. Radio. So there's a few things to look at in terms of radio. So who is your local BBC introducing team? Can you make a connection with them? Are you uploading to the uploader at the appropriate time? So at the right time of release, is it like the week before release? So we played on the Saturday show. Are you listening in and interacting perhaps on the socials? So saying, yeah, listening into the shows, oh, this is a great tune, love this, just so your name comes up and it becomes a little bit of a, when they see it next time as an artist, like, all right, they're listening to the show. So yeah, think about BBC introducing and making a connection with the DJs. Amazing Radio Clue, the label that I run, we've got a radio show on Amazing Radio that goes out once a month. So now you've got to pay to set up a profile, but you are guaranteed some airplay with that. And then if you think it's the right station for you, and you can speak to the DJs on there, then that can be a good place for emerging music, particularly that is their focus. Freshnet. So Freshnet is something I think set up by, but definitely a key part of it is Tom Robinson, who is a DJ on BBC Radio 6 Music. So Freshnet, once you've released a track, you can submit it through SoundCloud to Freshnet. goes through a bunch of moderators who are people that work with Tom to listen to everything that gets submitted. These moderators are from other blogs, other festivals, other promoters, other regions. And so if they like it, you get into a good influential pair of ears. So that's something worth looking at as well. And then also student and local radio. If you are a student, is there a local student radio that you've got there? Is it happening? Can you submit music to it? Can you start a show on there and start building something? If there isn't one, can you fill that gap? And then also local radio, regional radio. So there's BBC Radio Leeds, but there's other things like BCB, which is in Bradford. There are a few other York Chapel FM, or I think maybe ELFM. But yeah, regional radio. There's some really good examples of that. If you play it right, hopefully they'll get behind you and support you as well. And then Submit Hub. Submit Hub is a program where you can go on and basically pitch your release to writers, DJs, Spotify playlists, labels. So yeah, again, once you've created that press release or the information from there, you can put a bit of info and background around the release. You get so many free tokens to pitch your track, or you can pay some money towards actually pitching it to people. I don't use the paid service. We pay for actual PR companies on most of our releases to run a press campaign, so that's where the majority of our money is spent. But Submit Hub, I will tend to use the free ones and just see what I can get from that, and hopefully people will connect with music. And yeah, paid advertising. So yeah, starting to talk about money. If you've got a little an amount of money that you can use and spend on it, how are you going to do that? So digitally, work out what your budget is to promote a release. What can you afford? If you don't really have anything, but you're going out and spending 20, 30, 40, 50 quid a night on a night out, could you just not have that night out and put that towards the track and this art that you've created? Or are there things that you can do to sort of try and get some money towards it there? Facebook ads can work, but I think one of the things to remember on that, certainly hit and miss. I think one of the biggest things to appreciate with that is that it's not just about a promoted post, or if a post's going well, it's like, oh, stick some money behind it. It doesn't really work in that way. Use Facebook ads as an advert. Think about it as an advert. How do I create an advert that I will then run on Facebook and Instagram to actually connect with people? So what is it that you are going to, what is it that people are going to connect with? How are they going to really come into your world and see that? Usually a video clip is pretty good on that. But yeah, think about something that you can do there that would really connect over with people. It's not the easiest thing to set up and navigate. I don't do a lot of Facebook ads. We use a lot more YouTube ads. We started working with that. So you can run YouTube ads. You need some sort of music video ad clip, but you can do that and create it. A great way to start understanding the best way to do that, there are Google training and certificates in YouTube ads and everything around that. So just Google it and have a look at that. I think it's a Google Academy, maybe. A lot of them are free. So you can start understanding how to put these adverts together. They talk you through it, they walk you through it, and then you can start doing that. And just do testers and maybe put a couple of quid on one, see how it goes, a couple of quid on another, see how that goes. This is the same with Facebook as well. Don't just throw a load of money behind something. Work out what is getting traction. On YouTube, there's a guy called Andrew Southworth, I think, but he does a lot of advertising videos as well, and step by step of like trying to get more traction on Spotify and different things like that. So he's definitely worth checking out as well. And then physical advertising, I've mentioned a couple of these as we've gone along, but yeah, posters on the drum bins in Leeds. Can you do a run of posters around there so people are seeing the name and recognize it, and it becomes something familiar with it? Again, with QR codes on there and Spotify scanner codes on there. Going around to pizza shops, takeaway shops, fashion shops, record shops. Can you be doing something like that and just speaking to people behind there, asking them to put up a poster? Flyers. So this can be at your gigs, at other people's gigs if appropriate, in these places where where I've just mentioned, anywhere that uses a flyer, student halls, universities, colleges, anything like that. Can you drop them in there? Stickers. So are these something that you can give away? Are these, again, you can put on one of these things. Can you sticker all of the traffic lights in Leeds, as loads of bands seem to do? Again, some people love it, some people hate it, but it gets the name out there. So as soon as people start seeing the name, does it work? If you got money to do is to pull a stunt, could you? So we look after an artist called Born at My Grandma's House. We released an EP called Sometimes I Forget You're Human Too. The artwork was all red and white, and so we pressed the vinyl of it, and it was a red and white, like a strawberry cornetto. It looked like the top of the strawberry cornetto ice cream. So I came up with the idea of looking into renting an ice cream van and having Amber, the artist, sort of hanging out the window as it pulls up at a certain event and singing a couple of songs and doing that as a bit of like guerrilla marketing. So it didn't work out in the end, but I think it would have been a really impactful thing. So that's like one end of the scale of like, if you've got a bit of money, depending on how much it is. But yeah, what can you do? What sort of stunts can you do? What can you get a bit of attention with? Or merchandise. If you can get t-shirts done and they're working out at £2 a piece, £3 a piece, £4 a piece, can you do a short run of them? Or even tote bags that you're getting done at £2 a piece? Anything like that is relatively cheap and affordable. Can you do a run of those? Can you afford to do that and give them away for people to really, especially like a tote bag, because if it's a really good design as well, and people are seeing that and they'll be advocates for you, is that something that maybe you could do? Or you ask them to sign up to the mailing list and maybe they're in with a chance of winning some merch, something like that. So incentivizing things is really good. But yeah, work out if you've got some money or try to pull some money together, what you want the outcome to be and how you're going to achieve that. Right, that's everything. I will stop sharing there. Yeah, next session, 26th of July is on finding funding. And the 9th of August, getting out there and playing live. So yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Cheers.